Okay, are you ready for story time? Alright, so this is the other Brandon, of course. So, it'd probably be weird to hear your name, like Brandon. But, so this guy, we basically met when I was, I think, 19 or 20. So it's been a long time ago. And he was actually a lifeguard at the Y. And I was doing water aerobics at the time. So he would just like sit there, you know, make sure everything was going okay while we were doing our aerobics. And so, of course, I noticed him, and I guess you could say he was my type, you know. He had, at the time, my type was, I guess, like musician, like longer hair. Like he had nicer hair than most girls. It was just like, oh god. But anyway, he had kind of longer, not long, but longer, just like maybe like shoulder or whatever. And he was lifeguard, so he was in good condition, good shape, whatever. And I had also heard that one of the ladies mentioned he actually made, I think he was in some kind of a speech contest, or I can't remember, but he had to compete and present whatever, you know, some kind of a debate of some sort, and he ended up winning the whole thing. So, ouch, that hurt. He ended up winning like the whole thing of the competition, which was like a big deal. Like they mentioned it, and I think the instructor said, "I just want to acknowledge Brandon." So I knew his name then, because we never spoke to each other. He would just smile at me, and I'd smile back, and that was about it. He'd walk around the pool, and I would just be like doing my stretches and stuff, and like, you know. And he was a little bit younger than I was, and so anyway, when I heard that, I was like impressed because, you know, smart and whatnot. So I like that. But so we never spoke. But then one day, like I was leaving, he was walking out. And I decided to say something like, "Where do you go to school? Or you know, where are you planning on going to school or college, whatnot?" And he told me, and I was like, "Oh, nice." And then, you know, it was just very brief, and then went about my way. But I had a huge crush on him, and at the time, and my friends knew it. I was like, "There's this guy Brandon, blah blah blah. He's really cute, yeah." So but we were so shy around each other. And then one day, my friend and I were out downtown, and we were we were drinking at the time, underage, I know. And don't judge me, don't judge me, I mean. And I'm going to try to hold this thing still if I can position it so I don't have to, there, alright, that's better. So, we ended up, like, I think we were drinking, like, boxed wine. It was really ridiculous. Yucky wine, and this girl, I think my friend, she was even younger than, like 5 years younger, so she was like a little baby. I feel bad. It was a bad influence back then in some ways, I guess, but didn't mean to be, but was just, you know, having fun. I was just very free-spirited, so I just look at things differently. But anyway, so we were singing outside downtown, just singing out loud, whoever would listen to it. And then we happened to see them walk out. He was with another girl, I think, and he walked out of this movie or some restaurant, I can't remember. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Heidi, that's Brandon. I can't believe I'm running into him. He's out here, you know." And so, being in the state that I was a little bit more bold, and I just yelled out, I was like, "Brandon," you know, across the street. And he's like, "Hey," he recognized me, and came over and, you know, shook my hand. And I don't know what we talked about. I think we talked about school. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to go to school in a couple of weeks for, what do you call it, for, oh gosh, help me out, Brandon, for... starts with an I. I don't know. I need like retrieval. Better retrieval. Almost had it. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're introduced to the school, but it's not that I. That's driving me nuts. I'll think of it then. You know what? It's so simple. So anyway, that was, he was going up for that. And so I was like, "Oh, great." I was like, "Where are you going to school?" And he just happened to be going to the same school that I was going to. And I was like, oh my gosh, I go there. And he was like, no kidding. So I was like, yeah, I'll show you around if you need me to or whatever. And he's like, yeah, that'd be great. So he's like, I don't know anyone up there. I was like, well, now you do. So somehow he got my number. I don't know how, I don't remember the details, but oh, no. He asked for my number after that visit. I was at aerobics again. And he came out and he asked me. He said, hey, hold on a second. And I was like, yeah. He's like, can I get your number before I go? Because he was planning on going out of town for, like, I think to see his father or something for like the whole summer, basically. And so he's like, yeah, can I get your number so maybe we can get together and hang out before, you know, I go to my dad's, and then you know, we'll have school afterward. So he's like, we can hang out or something. I was like, sure. So he ends up calling me, and there's this party that was going on. So I said, hey, my friends we're gonna go downtown. We're gonna have this party, and we're just gonna hang out, whatever. Would you like to come? He's like, sure. So we all hung out together as a group, and then this is a long story. I'm so detailed though in my stories. Usually, sometimes I'm not, but these, yes, I am. And so anyway, just paints like the whole picture, and like you can kind of see how everything plays out. So after that, you know, it was fun. It was fine. You know, still had a like crush on him and whatnot, and then left. And for the summer, you didn't see him for the rest of the summer until school started. And since he was a freshman and I had been there, he couldn't drive or something for some reason. I don't think his mom would let him take his car. So I offered to, you know, take him with me when I rode up. So we rode up together, and I introduced him to some people that I had already known. And I kind of took him under my wing in a way. I was just kind of looking out for him because, you know, that's what I do. And we just became really good friends, and we would just hang out all the time, and just we would just, you know, like go tubing, and we had these like lazy rivers that were freezing cold, and we would just put beer in a cooler. So we'd have like three inner tubes, and we would just sit in one of each of them, and then put the beer in the other one, and just like tie them all together and just float down the river and having beer and, you know, shooting the, say, bull. But yeah, so we got to know each other pretty well, and he was music major, which was awesome. That was mine, and then I kept changing it, because I didn't know, I was indecisive. Late bloomer, and so, but I liked that part, and he would play music, and he'd play his guitar, and he'd sing, and we'd you know, sing together and whatnot. So, this happened for, like, over time. We go to parties, and we just, like, hang out, and just have fun, and, like, people... There's a time when there's some people that were not very nice to him, and I like stood up for him because I don't like bullies. But anyway, try to make this short. Okay, so one night, let's see, nothing had happened for like a long time. So I thought, well, I guess we're just gonna be friends, because I wasn't gonna like ask him out, you know. I don't do that. So I ended up just, you know, being his friend, and then eventually I met another guy and began dating him. And ironically, the two of them knew each other. They went to the same school. So that was really kind of weird. They're both musicians again. They knew each other through like different bands. So one night we all decided to go out to this big party, and Brandon was there and my boyfriend was there, and we were just like, you know, drinking, of course. It's back in my drinking days, and you know, music was playing, so I loved to dance. But I was just sitting with my boyfriend at the time, talking and just whatever. And Brandon, all of a sudden, next thing I know, he just grabs my hand and takes me out. Well, doesn't take me out. He takes me over to the dance floor. It just drags me all the way clear across the side of this building. It's like a big warehouse, you know. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, Brandon, what are you doing? And he starts dancing with me, and I swear it reminds me kind of again, a reference to 16 Candles, where the geek grabs Molly Ringwald and starts dancing with her, and like she's just standing there, and he's like doing all this crazy stuff. it was kind of like that, but not exactly. Like he was more, it was a little more raunchy dancing, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like he was putting his hand under my shirt, not like up my shirt, but just like under my, like where my waist was. And I'm like, Brandon, what has gotten into you? I was like, this is not you. And I was like, stop, you know. And he stopped. I was like, you can't do this. I was like, you know, I have a boyfriend. And so he's like, you know, okay, I'm sorry. And so we walked back, and I think he was so embarrassed or something, or mad, whatever. He ends up leaving, and we took my car, and he had my keys because he was driving. Not very smart. I don't know what we were thinking. I don't know who drove out there, but anyway, you don't have to drive far distance, but still, it's no excuse. It's not a good idea. I'm not condoning drinking and driving. Trust me. But anyway, so he takes my car and leaves us there. So we had no way of getting home, and by the time we realized it, it's like too late. So we had to walk home all the way back to my apartment, which is like miles and miles and miles. So we just sang and made the best of it the whole time. Got home, thank God my door was unlocked for some reason, and the next day I called him. I said, Brandon, I need my car. And I told him, I said, that was not cool what you did. You should not have driven off, for one, in your state, and especially with my car. But I said, you know, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because I've never seen this behavior from you, and I know you are not in your right mind, so just please return the car. So, okay, that was over with. So my boyfriend goes home because he wasn't there at the time, and it was like a weekday, and I get this knock on the door at like 2 in the morning, and it was pouring rain, and he didn't have a car, remember, so he had walked all the way from campus to my apartment in the rain at 2 in the morning, or whatever time he left, however long it took him to get there. And I'm like, Brandon, he's like, it's Brandon. I was like, oh my gosh, come in, what are you doing? And he's like, I have to tell you, he's like, Carmen, I am so in love with you. And I have to tell you, I know you're with this other guy, but I love you, and I've loved you for a long time, and I can't not tell you. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, that is so sweet. And I was really flattered. I was very touched by it, but at the same time I felt really bad because I was involved with someone else, and my feelings had changed over time because I just kind of gave up on it because we kind of got into the friend zone in my mind, but in his mind it had turned into more than a friend. And so I had to kind of let him down gently. But the thing is, I said, Brandon, I think I might have something for you. I said, back in the day when I had a huge crush on you, I said, I actually wrote a poem about you, and I have that poem here, I think, somewhere. So I dug it out, and I said, you want to see it? And he's like, yeah. So I read it to him out loud and told him, that was for him, and he was really, really touched by that. And so he asked me if he could take it and make a song out of it, and I said, sure, of course. So I ripped it out and handed it to him and sent him on his way. I think I took him home because I didn't make him walk back in the rain. But anyway, I just thought it was sweet. But we remained great friends even after that, and he went to a different school eventually, into Boone, and we kept in touch with each other. We'd still, visit, and I'd go up there and visit with him. And he'd write me letters. Like every week he'd write me a letter, like, classic old letter from the mail. It was really, really sweet. So we stayed friends for a long, long time until he ended up taking a job for the government, and now he's like in some country, I can't even pronounce it, but it's like way far away, and he's like protected with the government, and I had to give him a reference for it one time. And so it's been a long time since I've seen him, and I think he's married now, so I'm glad. But that's the Brandon story. So sorry it's so long, but that's me. So I hope that was a good bedtime story for you. I hope you didn't fall asleep, and I hope you enjoy it. So there you go. All right, good night. It's not stopping. See, this is what happened before. I thought I turned it off, and then you see the crazy. All right, let me just make sure it's off. Okay, night. Stop.